Welcome to Smalltalk Daily for Tuesday, June 22nd, 2010. This morning I wanted to go through scripting a deployment build. Now I've done this before for bottom feeder, but the difficulty with that is that's a relatively complex and involved build. I wanted to do something very simple. Here I've got a very simple user application. So I've got this sample and it's got a method called doMyThing. That's the extent of the application as it's going to write to the transcript. I'm going to run this headless so that after it does this and quits, you can actually see the results in a file. If you start up an application in Smalltalk without a GUI, by default anything you write to the transcript will go to headless-transcript.log unless you decide to change that to nothing or to some other file. So this way we'll be able to see that it did something before it quits. So this is a very simple application. One API point, that's it. That's all it does. Now to get this thing configured, we needed to create what's called a user application. Let's look at the definition of this. It's derived from user application, and it has one real interesting method, and that is the main method. And all it does is call sample new doMyThing. That's all this thing does. The main method is where, in a subclass of user application, if an image is set up in the runtime state, this will be called. And this is how you would kick off applications, whether they're headful or headless. If you want to have an application get started automatically, this is how you do it. Create your own subclass of user application, create a main method, and put stuff in it. And that will make sure everything gets going. Now, if you load one that has this kind of class in it, it will not automatically fire this, which is a good thing. You wouldn't want this image to automatically quit because I'm not in the runtime state. So the next question you might ask is, how do I get into the runtime state? Well, let's quit this browser for a minute and come over here to the build script. Here I have my little build script. I'm just loading all the parcels, which is just this one. So sample app, load parcel from. I have some exception handling wrapped around app. And then I'm turning off the change set. This is just a look at the change set and turning it off so that there are no changes broadcast out to the change log. In a runtime application, I don't want a constant stream of stuff going out to that. Then I set my herald string. And again, these two things up here are kind of optional, but there's something you probably want in a headless application. And here I'm resetting the parcel path so that there's nothing there. That way an end user of this application couldn't be smart enough to realize, oh, it'll read anything it wants from this load file and then have other parcels load in. And then I'm going to go ahead and set the deployment option system to start in runtime. This is that key thing where that main method I pointed out a few moments ago will get triggered. I'm turning the runtime state of this into runtime from development, and that means that we will fire that method when we start up. Now I'm just going ahead and doing a couple of other things. I'm going ahead and throwing a method in here to the visual launcher to turn things off there. Don't worry too much about that. And down here what I'm doing is closing the visual launcher and then closing all extant workbooks. So I go find all instances of the launcher, do a close on those, find all instances of the workbook, close on all those. Then I just wait for 20 seconds, and I realize that this is to make sure that all that happens. This is probably longer than I need to wait, but it's a build script. It's easy enough to do. Then I have, for some reason, a second changing of the parcel search path. That's probably a typo on my part, but never mind that. Discard all the sources so that we don't have the sources in this image. That way it's not going to look for the visual.sou file, or parcel source files for that matter. And then finally down here is the little magic. Here I have this block which says object memory perm save as this name, then quit, false, and fork that, then delay for 45 seconds, and that makes sure that the image saves. And then if we're in runtime, if we're not in runtime, quit the image. So this image will quit because it's not in runtime, but the other image that I saved will quit. So it's a little tricky, but that's how that works. Let's go ahead and see how that works by setting things up. I'm going to quit this image. The way I'm going to get that going is I'm just going to go ahead and execute this command line here. My start VW script just starts up by looking for the VM and the right path on my Mac here. Then I start up the base visual.im minus filein sample deploy.st, which is the file we were just looking at, and that'll do my build for me. So let's go ahead and do that. And that's going to take a moment to run. You'll see that things are going here, and then it quits. And there's a couple of delays in there, so what I'm going to do is pause this until that all finishes. Now to make sure that's not still running, I do a PS. I find that there's no visual.app running, so I know it's done. Now let's go ahead and start that up. So if I do an ls-l on sample.im, I should find it. And now we're going to start this headless so that you can see. Let's try it. Just do this ls-l headless-tran star, and you find there is no such file. So let's do start vw sample.im minus no GUI. And you see this is from the sample app, goes there. And now if I do a more on headless-transcript.log, there it is. So it wrote to the transcript and it quit. And that's really all there is to doing a runtime build in Syncom Smalltalk. You can build your script from this example and add the extra things that you need, like I have for bottom feeder. But this is kind of the simplest possible script. It has just the basic stuff you'd need to get this going. I'll have links to this in the screencast post, and you can download the example application. So, till next time, have fun with Smalltalk.